What a bike then to start off my trip to the Santos Tour Down Under. The bike of Andre Greipel, the Factor 1, that is being ridden by him this year as he rides for the Israel Startup Nation. It's a new team for Greipel and it's a new team inside of the World Tour too. Now before I get on to all the nitty gritty and fine details of this bike, make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up and also share it with some friends. After all, I'm going to be measuring it, I'm going to be weighing it and doing the all important free hub sound check. Let's start with the frame then, the chassis of the bike. Well, it's the Factor 1 frame, like I've already mentioned, and it features that twin vane style down tube on the bike, something pretty unique. I remember Colnago experimenting with this back in the early to mid 90s, but the actual idea behind it, or the thinking behind it, is that it not only increases the stiffness around the head tube and the bottom bracket, but also allows the wind which passes from the front wheel to kind of flow a little bit easier. And they've done this through computational fluid dynamics as well as some wind tunnel research too, before it hits the seat tube and then passes through the rear of the bike. Moving forward then, well, we've got something which was pretty unique looking when this bike was released, because the steerer tube of the fork we always thought was kind of external, if you like, and it was this part here, when that's not in actual fact the steerer tube. The steerer tube does still pass through the head tube, but it kind of has this interesting looking fairing, if you like. Now, Factor, they call this the Otis, the One Total Integration System, and it's quite an impressive bit of kit actually, and it's the sort of thing which Selle have also got on their S5 model too. Now the forks, they are pretty wide, which tends to be the common theme these days at the front end of bikes, make the forks a little bit wider there too, just to try and aid the airflow, because aerodynamics is really key. Now the forks, they do have that internal routing as well for the brake hose here, which pops out just down near the caliper, and the bars which are fitted onto this bike, they're really impressive too. The handlebars have a couple of little grommets here on either side of the stem, if you like, it is integrated there. Now this means if you were running a rim brake bike and using these handlebars on there, those brake cables could easily pop out here. Of course, this one here is fitted with disc brakes there, so they're nicely internally routed all the way, gives a really nice clean appearance. Fitted onto the handlebars, we've got a pair of Shimano Dura Ace Di2 shifters, brake lever combined, they're the 9170 model, and then on the drops of the handlebars, just beneath the hoods, got a couple of sprint shifters there too, which are perfect for a guy like Andre Greipel. Handlebars finally are wrapped in some really grippy Factor handlebar tape. I do like this. And then we've also got a GPS mount on the front there for the Wahoo, and that's from BlackInc, who is part of the Factor brand. And on the underside, you can even fit himself a little camera or light. Let's talk about the wheels then. Well, we've got a pair of BlackInc 60s, which means they're 60mm in depth, and they're laced up to a pair of BlackInc hubs too. The spokes being used are some Sapim ones, Sapim hailing from Belgium and a really renowned manufacturer of spokes. Inside of the BlackInc hubs too, we've got some ceramic speed bearings in there just to give a little bit less rolling resistance. And then the actual rotors, which are stopping the wheels, are some Swiss stop ones. So again, different from the actual standard Shimano ones. And the pads inside of the calipers, I can just about see, thanks to the yellow backing plate, they are Swiss stop too. Let's talk gearing then for Greipel, who is a sprinter extraordinaire. We got 55-42 on the Chainset up there, so it's certainly nothing for the real steep climbs, but well, a 55 ring for a guy like Greipel, that's no problem at all to turn it around. The Cassette is an 11-30, meaning that he's got the sort of, he can compensate basically by having a 42 inner ring and a 30 as opposed to the 39-28 combination. We've got a 4-eye power meter on there too, which is double-sided. You can see there on the inside of the left-hand crank, there is the power meter, and on the right-hand side there, just by the spider, there's one mounted. And the Israel Startup Nation are one of the two teams in the World Tour who are being provided power meters from that company. Let's have a look then at the finishing touches before we get on to the all-important measurements and that free hub sound check. We've got a pair of Shimano SPDSL pedals. And then the rear derailleur, that's Shimano Dura Ace 2, the Di2 version, of course, and it's got the Ceramic Speed oversized pulley wheel system, which is pretty obvious thanks to its large oversized pulley wheels, hence the name. And they're done in a fancy red colour too, just to give it a little bit of extra colour onto the bike. And well, topping off the drivetrain, we've got a KMC X11 SL chain on there. I don't know if Andre does watch the GCN Tech Show, but if he does, he'll know full well that that is a bit of bling kit, and he would certainly get a super nice for having that on there. Fitted on top of the Factor seat post, we've got a Selle Italia Pro Team carbon railed saddle, which has got a pretty large bit of advertising across the rear of the rails there, thanks to this plastic sort of addition, which the sponsor will have certainly added on there. We've also got a K3 number mount, which has been super glued onto the rear, so that obviously Greipel doesn't have to use any zip ties or anything unsightly. We've got a pair of Elite Rocco water bottle cages. And something I really like is the fact that the handlebar end plug here on the left-hand side, because the right-hand side is where the Di2 junction box is, but the one on the left-hand side has a little Allen key screw in there with a little expander plug, meaning that that is going to be way more secure in there than the standard ones where you just whack them in and hope for the best. And finally, we've got a Ceramic Speed bottom bracket inside of the BB Right standard on this frame set. Let's talk measurements. Well, Greipel, he stands at 1.83 m, which is 6 feet in old-fashioned money. His saddle height, from the tip of the saddle right down to the centre of the bottom bracket, is 77.5 centimetres. The tip of the saddle to the centre of the handlebars, 57.5 centimetres. And the drop from the saddle to the bars is 13 centimetres, which I reckon fits into the category of slammed. Now, the weight of the bike comes in at just below 8 kilos. I did weigh it with my scales, but one of the other mechanics here has borrowed them and then he's lent them to someone else, and hopefully I'm going to see them again. But let's have a listen then to that free hub sound check. I like that. Nice. There we are then, the bike of Andre Greipel of the Israel Startup Nation. Let me know what you think of it down there in the comment section below. Personally, I really like it. I think this is the first time I've ever been able to look at one up close. And I hope he has a good season too, because he's a good old friend of mine. Right, get involved down in the comments section below. And as ever, remember to check out the GCN shop at shop.globalcyclingnetwork.com. Don't forget to like and share this video with your friends too. And now for two more absolutely cracking pro bikes, click just down here and just down here. Tell you what, it is absolutely roasting today.